Well, and I know you had an interesting upbringing too, because you had there were religions, so many different religions in your home and in your family, which I know for me personally, I found so surprising.
Yeah. So my mom was a Christian, my dad was a Muslim. And I tell everyone that my aunt, my mom, immediate sister, was a Reverend Mother. My mother's family has a church with the pew and everything with their name. And so when we visit my aunt, we'll go to church. And then when we go home, we go and pray. I mean, but what is interesting about it, though, is that when my aunt became seriously ill, she was at our house, getting care. That was the relationship. They were all very close. And I think that even before we were born, seeing that relationship, saying that it did not, when we go to Aunt's place, we have to go to church out of respect for her. But when we say we want to pray, she will make the room for us to pray, because she knows that's what our dad taught us. And so she would not say don't pray, but she would not allow us not to come into church either. So it was so interesting.
It is interesting. And as soon as I heard that story of yours in your background, everything for me clicked, knowing, I mean, you're just kind of like a lightning rod for community. I think you have this ability to make everybody feel so comfortable. And you don't judge anybody. That's the other thing too, is you just don't. You welcome everyone, you create community for everyone. And I realized it's because that's how you grew up.
It was what was around me. And here's something else that is also interesting for me, was that being around that and seeing it, I'm like, my dad is the best person anyway, next to my husband. So that goes without saying. But here's the kicker. When I grew older and I started learning my religion, right? Then I started learning about stories. Like the Prophet of Islam lived at a point where there were Muslims and Jews and Christians together, right? I learned of a story of, actually learned this from a PBS documentary, of an agreement, a treaty that the Prophet of Islam had with the monks in Syria, talking about, we'll protect your churches, you have the right to practice your religion. So my dad was not doing anything outside of the religion. And I think that's what does it for me. Like, this is what my faith teaches, regardless of what anybody does. People not knowing their religion or people not knowing the history and what happens, do whatever they want. But I know my faith. And I know what it taught me, which was exemplified by my dad and the people around me. My dad was a Muslim, but he knew that if the Prophet lived in Medina with non-Muslim and they coexisted for so many years, he could live with my mother and her family and coexisted. Same goes with me. I have a half-brother that is a Christian. It doesn't bother me. I have friends that are Christians, that are Jews. You do you, I do me. It does not bother me. I have so much confidence in my faith and my practice that I don't need to get into your business. I really don't.